On February 22nd, 2015, I uploaded my first video. Now I know what some of you might be thinking. What about the Dystopia VHS tape that you uploaded earlier that month? The Dystopia VHS tape, it is a bootleg of some live shows that they played. It wasn't on YouTube yet. I had my tape transferred to DVD, and myself, being a big Dystopia fan, I wanted people to see it. The rush I got when that video got 1,000 views in the first hour, that was amazing. But the first video that I shot myself, that I edited, if you can call it that, that was mine, that was on February 22nd, 2015, and it also was about Dystopia. It was about my vinyl and CD collection. It was horrible. It is the only video to this day that I've never watched all the way through. We'll get to that in a minute. But 10 years, people have been watching my stuff for 10 years. That's amazing. You know, this isn't something I take lightly, you know? The fact that my videos have comforted people, that people have been able to learn about bands, that I've been able to give back to my community, many of them, the metal community first and foremost, punk to an extent, the rivet heads, industrial heads, the goths, of course. I don't generally put a label on myself and what I like and what I am. I tend to kind of skirt between different subcultures and different things I like, and they have all embraced me. And I've embraced them. So, you know, it's been nice for me to give back to my community and to express myself creatively because, hey, 10 years. Most TV shows don't last 10 years. Most relationships don't last 10 years. In my case, mine don't last longer than 10 hours. The original Misfits, the first time they were around, they didn't last 10 years. So this is not lost on me. This is a pretty big deal for me. I'm thankful that I've been able to spread joy and spread creativity and introduce a lot of people to bands and introduce people to my soul with my music and my skits and my projects over the years. That is wild. You know, a lot can happen in 10 years. A lot's happened with me personally, a lot's happened with the channel. I got to meet many of my heroes. A lot of my heroes got to see my videos, and you know, that's been really nice. Joe Bench, she sent me this bolt thrower poster as a thank you for doing the bolt thrower video back in 2017, and that's just one example. You know, there are many examples, and I have a big list of thank yous I want to get to in a minute, but 10 years, so my 10th anniversary, what I'm going to be publishing tomorrow on February 22nd, 2025, is actually going to be a remake of my first ever video. I was talking a minute ago about the Dystopia vinyl and CD video that I did. That was my first video. It was poorly shot, poorly edited, it was unscripted, it was boring. It sucked. I have held a personal grudge against this video for the last 10 years, so I want to right that wrong. And being as Dystopia has meant a lot to me over the years, and it's also meant a lot to a lot of other people as well, I believe that I'm the right man for the job and giving them the big comprehensive video that they so deserve. So, that is going to be what happens tomorrow. I love full circle moments like that, you know? 10 years, going back to the beginning. Video number 1. Fun stuff, satisfying stuff. There were a lot of factors in making this happen, and I have a big giant list of thank yous that I want to give out. So, we're gonna be here for a minute. First and foremost, I want to thank the good family that I have. I could leave that vague, but in the interest of not wanting to receive any aggravated or angry phone calls in the next few days, I'm going to be a little more specific. My mother, of course, she watches pretty much every video I do, and yeah, you know, she's my mother. My sister, of course, my grandparents, who've been super supportive of me over the years. Andy Grand Prix, you know, you've been in my life for over 20 years, and I love you to death. Here's to many more. Melanie Ansel, we're talking about family. You're pretty much family at this point. I'd do anything for you. I love you to death. Thank you for being in my life. Braxton, Savannah, people I went to school with, Jamie Powell, you know, you're the oldest friend I know. We met when I was probably 8 years old. I know you had a shitty year the last year, but here's to rebounding, bouncing back. Dan Miller, if anybody who has been listening to my music, all 5 of you, have noticed that my mixes have been sounding progressively better in the last year and a half, well, it's because of that man right there, Dan Miller. So, you know, he's been giving me a lot of feedback on, you know, EQ cuts and compressors and saturation and all that other stuff. So, you have him to thank for that. So, go check out his band, Autumn's Eyes. It's pretty good stuff, if you like doom metal, typo negative, that type of thing. You know, I appreciate our little talks about Dr. Phil impersonations and Cheech and Chong and whatever. Let's see, Chris and Lily, of course. Christopher. I'm Tony thanking Christopher. He knows what it means. You guys need to just fly me out to California at some point. Move into a bigger house, have a space for me to sleep, because I don't want to sleep between mom and dad. Scratching your balls or doing whatever it is you're gonna do. And, you know, we'll talk about comic books and action figures, and I'll probably see records that I've shopped for you over the years. Here's to many more. Who else? Daryl War and her husband, Bob. You know, for many years I was... talking to this person via email. We started communicating via a pen pal website, just as my channel was kind of starting to take off. And for years, you were this faceless entity on the other side of the country that I didn't know what you looked like. I'd never seen a picture of you until pretty recently. But you've been a pretty big source of comfort for me over the years. I'm pretty amazed that we found each other on a damn pen pal website of all things, and we're still talking, so that's pretty lovely. Let's see, John Lambert, for being one of the few interviewers who's done me justice, and for the inspiration, and for the talks, and for coming to see me last summer, or 2 summers ago, whenever the hell it was. Come back, dude! Let's see, I want to thank the man who got me into underground metal. That would be Justin Green. Another person I've never met in person, but, yeah, you know, that man started it all. So, Justin Green, the band Population Reduction. In this video that I'm doing tomorrow, there are going to be all sorts of subtle hints and callbacks to old Killbot videos and bands that I've talked about over the years, and... because of this, my shirt is different in every scene. That's on purpose. And the first shirt you're going to see is Population Reduction. There's a reason for it. While we're talking about population reduction, I want to talk about Ben and Ghoul, of course. Ghoul being a giant source of revenue for my channel, because I've talked about them to death over the years. But, you know, Killbot, it's in the name. It's a Ghoul character, you know? I remember getting pizzas for those guys and hanging out on the tour bus with them, and I've seen them many times. It's always been a great show, and they're incredible people, so yeah, Ghoul, thank you so much. I would also like to thank Carl Sanders from Nile. He probably doesn't remember this, but back in 2015, I did a video on Nile, and Carl shared my video on his page, so... I saw in the comments section that a lot of people really liked that video. They thought it was funny, and it gave me the push to keep going. I said, you know, people like this. I could make something out of this. So, yeah. I got to meet Carl at a show several months later, and I told him who I was, and I thanked him personally for that push, that motivation, and, yeah, that's where that is. I would like to thank Vorbid from Norway. They were one of, if not the first band ever to reach out to me wanting me to review their EP. And, well, we've had a cool relationship ever since. It's, they're cool guys, they make great music, and that opened another door for me, you know, talking about bands that reach out to me. Some of them are pretty good, a lot of them are pretty horrible, but I'm not here to crush anybody's dreams. I know the good ones. Trust me, I see you out there, and I'll get to you eventually. Joe Bench, earlier I mentioned the poster behind me. This poster is in the background of a lot of my videos, and there's that poster on the other side of the wall over there. This poster is basically Joe Bench's blessing over me as I do these videos, because she sent this and a couple t-shirts as a thank you for doing the bolt thrower video back in 2017. We had a correspondence for a couple weeks, and that was a pretty big boost to my ego, let's just say. Let's see, who else? Scotty Heath. I remember when I started doing ghoul videos, and I sent one of them to you, and you indulged me. And then I kept doing more Tank Crimes band-related videos, and you indulged me some more. And 10 years later, you're still indulging me. Thank you, Scotty. Let's see, Mark Bronzino. I remember back in 2017 when I went to go see Iron Reagan. I got there early, and you saw me in the parking lot as the band was getting out of the van. And you came up to me and you were like, hey, weren't you the guy who did the Tank Crimes video? Wow. First band to recognize me from YouTube. That blew my mind, and it still does. And overall, you're a good dude, so can't wait to see you again at some point. Someone else I would like to thank is Mr. Albert Mudrian for writing the book Choosing Death. I read this book when I was 14 years old, the original version of it, and this book set me on the path for death metal, grindcore, black metal. And in the back of the book, there's a list of essential albums. So when I made money as a teenager, I went and sought after these albums. When I did the review comparing the original version of the book to the revised version with extra pages, Albert was nice enough to put my video as part of the Decibel store page for that book. I've never met Albert in person, but someday I will, and I would like to shake his hand. So, thank you, Albert. Of course, I would also like to thank a few of my contemporaries, J-Hoff Films, Thrashed TV, Chris. Chris, you're a great dude. I enjoy our little discussions at times, and of course, J-Hoff, that channel was a pretty big inspiration for me and a big source of comfort for me, like it was for a lot of people. Heavy Metal Entertainment, Big Dan and Little Dan, particularly, I love sending obscene jokes to Big Dan, talking about Star Trek, whatever it is we do. Infidel Amsterdam, as far as metal on YouTube, you wrote the fucking book, man. Thank you. We all owe you something. Emily Herweg, of course, another Dutch metal YouTuber who fucking rocks. Thank you, Emily. Dante Dead, another one. I met you in Texas a couple years ago, and you're a good guy. Your videos, they're pretty good. Let's see, Circle of Tone, another collaborator. Yep, nice informative videos on guitar tones, drum samples, amplifiers, etc. I enjoy our little discussions about typo negative. Let's see, Megan Eller for being part of my little escapades in Los Angeles. Best leave that one mostly off the record. Aaron Tanner, of course, another guy who's been helpful personally as well as artistically. I enjoy our little discussions about bands, and of course I gotta thank you also for including my contribution to the Ministry book all those years ago. That was fun, and all these years later, after that book signing, we're personal friends and I like it, so you're a good dude. Keep fighting the good fight. Who else? Craig Mullen, while we're on the topic of Ministry. We're talking about Ministry, we're talking about fleshlights and porn stars and acid and whatever else we're talking about, and it's fun, man. Just, hopefully you can make it to the United States and be in a part where I happen to be in at the same time, and I can meet you in person finally. That would be pretty cool. Let's see, I'd like to thank the Metalhead Box for sending me free review boxes for several years, and that was something they definitely did not have to do, but early in the Metalhead Box's lifespan, they were sending review boxes to YouTubers to review their albums, and apparently mine were among the more popular reviews. Melissa, of course, from the Metalhead Box, you sent me candy, you sent me all sorts of chips and cool stuff from Canada, and I gotta thank you for that too. I'd like to thank the Wicked Witch over in Raleigh for being my third home. Fun goth nights, fun way to let loose. It's really nice. More contemporaries and more friends. Maddie Danger, another one. We might talk about cars, we might talk about Judas Priest, we might talk about, meditation or something, and that's, very cool person. Thank you for, being in my circle. Angela Benedict, of course. I got into your channel at a time when I needed to be reminded of why I do what I do on YouTube. And your passion for music at your age is... selfishly, it reminds me a lot of myself. You know, between our humor and the things we like and the way we both do videos, that just... that gives me the feeling that when I get to be your age, I hope that I'll be like you. Keep doing what you do. Thank you. Skinny Puppy, of course. I want to thank Skinny Puppy, and more specifically, I want to thank Ogre for showing me the importance of performing authentically. Anna, of course, one of my favorite people. I love you both to death. I'd like to thank Lords of Acid, and probably more specifically, Gigi for getting my foot in the door in that arena, and Maurice and Inya, because that day that the band was in Los Angeles and I got to sing 2 songs for them, that was a stressful day for the band, and it was a messy show. It was a mess for the audience, but it was also the first time I ever got to sing live in front of an audience. One of my favorite bands ever. You guys gave me that, and I will never forget it. Also, your kindness after the show, hanging out on the tour bus, whatever, that was one of the best days of my life, and I think about it all the time, even now. Who else would I like to thank? I would like to thank everybody who has ever subscribed to my Patreon page, whether it was free, whether it was contributing money, whatever it might be. Your contributions do not go unnoticed. Thank you all so much. And lately, with the talks that I've been having with Adam, I'd like to thank Adam, who was a Patreon subscriber for a while, as we are planning a Killbot CD on his new label. I didn't say that out loud. Yeah, I totally did. I would like to thank anybody who's bought merch. Patches, stickers, t-shirts, hoodies. Anybody who's bought any of the albums I might have been selling out of my collection on social media. I'd like to thank you all. I would also like to thank some of the influences that I've never met or interacted with. The biggest one being Trent Reznor, Dave Brockie, and Guar. I love the way that they just do what they do, whether it sticks or not. Just pure creativity flowing out of that project. The Angry Video Game Nerd. When I first started this channel, the original idea was to be Angry Video Game Nerd, but for metal. And I like to think that I've evolved past that, but Angry Video Game Nerd. Huge, huge inspiration. Who else? George Carlin and Bill Hicks for the anti-authoritarian comedy bits, and also for showing me at a young age that there's nothing wrong with thinking. And you don't have to be funny all the time, but you can be interesting if you want to be. Who else? Todd in the Shadows. I've been inspired by Todd in the Shadows over the years, and the most blatant example being my Danzig 5 video. Yeah, I know you were all thinking it. I'm admitting it now. And most of all, I would like to thank you, the viewers, the subscribers, all the bands and all the people who have shared my videos on whatever social media platform, whoever shared it with friends, whoever's enjoyed the videos, got inspiration from it, got comfort from it. Anybody who's drawn me fan art, I keep a scrapbook full of it. I have some of it on my wall. Thank you all. So, here's to 10 years, and enjoy tomorrow's video about Dystopia. Grind on.